In today's day and age, students are grouped by years of age, not by how intelligent or competent they are. I, Rayyan, see this as a problem, which is why I, as the government team, will agree and support this House's decision to abolish primary and middle school years that group by age and instead should group them by intelligence and competence. Firstly, why do I oppose the current system that groups students by age? It is because this system is very inefficient, disorganized, and quite blatantly unfair. Why is it inefficient? It's because the pace of the lessons taught in class would be accelerated if it was grouped by intelligence. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have a class filled with people of similar competence and a class of people with similar age, their competence not accounted for. The first class would go through so many subjects, so many lectures, so much faster than the second one. Why, you might ask? It's because the people on the first class are on a similar level. Their understanding, how quick they can grasp or understand the lesson, is the same, which means the entire class are moving through at a similar speed. Now, what about the second class? The second class would progress slower. Why? Because some of the students in said class aren't as smart as some of the students in that same class. Now, when the teacher that teaches the lessons will lower down the difficulty and lower down the pace of the lesson, thus making the slow students understand it better, but making the progression of the smarter students slower, thus making it inefficient. Now, for just like the wheels on a car, for a car to be stable, all wheels need to go on the same speed. The car with four fast rotors or fast wheels can go fast, but the cars with two fast wheels or two fast rotors and two slower rotors will go slower or will have to go slower. Why? Because the faster wheels will have to adapt to the lower wheels because this is the lower wheels max and this is the faster wheels max. The faster wheels have to go slower because in order for a car to function properly or for a car to be stable, all wheels need to be at the same speed. That means that all four rotors on a car need to be the same in order to be able to utilize the functions of the rotor to the max. That's also the same for students. All the students in one class need to be of similar level to be able to maximize the potential and to maximize the progress of said students. Also, the mix of smart and not so smart students cause an imbalance to the class. Why? Because the teacher would have a hard time balancing the difficulty of the lessons, and in doing so makes it too difficult, sometimes too difficult for not so smart ones, and most of the times or sometimes too easy or non-challenging for the smart students, thus making the progression of said class slow and inefficient. The system of grouping students by intelligence is beneficial for everyone. Why? Because the students that are slow can study in a slower pace, while the students that are quick can study in a faster pace. This can also be beneficial to those who are special needs, since the students that are special needs doesn't need to catch up to the geniuses in the same age range. In addition to that, that is also unfair to both the smart students and the not so smart ones. Why? Because the smart students drive an effort to make him smart, but the not so smart student is holding the class back. Then the smart students' efforts will go down since they'll think, hey, since the difficulty is not that hard, why should I give my all for it? And thus making the class's progression a bit slower. And why is it also blatantly unfair? In addition to that, a real world example of this is this year's or last year's PPDB, or the system in which enrolls or accepts students to higher classes of education, whether that be primary school, middle school, or high school. Because by this time, or by last year's PPDB, they prioritized age, thus meaning the older you are, the higher chances of you enrolling in a good school. That is not fair. Why? Because the people that are older might not give more effort, might not have given enough effort to be able to go in there, but is still able to go in. Why? Because their age makes them able to go in. While the genius, the very smart student that gave it their all, cannot go in. Why? Because their age is under. And since they accepted the older student one, then the younger one who is smarter gave more effort and tried harder with higher competency and higher intelligence did not get enrolled. Why? Because, well, they prioritized age, which is why I think it is blatantly unfair. While this on paper does not seem like a huge problem, but this imbalance and inefficiency in our education system and also how unfair it is slowing down the growth of the country. Now, what does all of this education stuff have to do with the growth of one country? Now, what does it have to do with what we were talking about previously? It has many things, but the main aspect is the quality of human resources and how that ties directly to intelligence. The smarter the people, the higher quality the human resource. If we change the education system to that of grouping people by intelligence and competence, then the rate in which case high quality human resources are produced will increase because the smarter students will progress at a much faster rate, while the not so smart students can progress at a comfortable rate, in which case they can at some point be able to be high quality individuals or high quality humans. Since the growth of the growth of the country correlates with how high the quality of their humans are, that directly correlates with the education. While the country grows, then the education improves. And since the country's growth is caused by the quality of the human resources, then with more high quality humans, then the country improves more, then the education improves, and then the intelligence or the quality of the people improve, and then the quality of life in said country improves, and then that also produces more and more high quality humans. Then that cycle repeats itself, thus having massive benefits to the country, the people, and everyone affiliated. But changing a system that is this big will be quite challenging. And even if they do change it, in which case I hope it does. But the short-term solution for the smart students is to go to an education facility that is outside of school, because these education facilities are a lot harder than the lessons they provide in school, but they do come with an expense, which is why I still think that the change of the system to change the grouping from age to intelligence should be applied in order to maximize the country's growth, the country's education, and the future of this country's potential. That is all from Rayyan, me, the government team. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.